to be on the program this evening. Tonight we're going to look at deception. We're going to look at what we refer to as the serpents. We're going to look at signs that was given to us of the last days, which we've talked about in times past as being God's clock, which is the Bible. Now, the Bible makes it clear to us throughout it, from the beginning, literally. In Genesis, the first prophecy that was ever given was given in the book of Genesis. It was that pertaining to the coming of the Lord Jesus and bruising his heel as he would smash the serpent's head. The Bible tells us in detail, manifesting to us the character, the characteristics of mankind through each phase of his fall and his rise. What I mean by that is this, is that we will see throughout history, throughout all history, that man is always in a cycle. He will hit rock bottom, he will get in great trouble, he will go into bondage, he will go into captivity, he will go into enslavement. Somebody will rise up, someone will restore faith, God will move, they will begin to climb up, climb out, and then they'll reach the top of blessings, prosperity, and a good life, and then the cycle starts all over again. It seems that the only time mankind as a whole will actually lean on, call on, and look to God is when he gets himself in a whole lot of trouble. The richer he gets, the better off, the easier life becomes. For some reason, he thinks he needs God less and less and less. It's not hard for a man who is having to scrap each and every day and fight tooth and nail just to get food to eat or to feed his family. It's not hard for that man to realize the importance of prayer and or giving thanks for what he has, thanking God for the food on his table. But once the refrigerators and freezers are full and everything we want is right at our fingertips at any point, any time that we want it, we don't really see too much the need to give God the thanks because it's there. And as generation after generation is raised up under the blessings, there finally is a generation that comes along that believes that all of this is just cause it is, and this is the way it is, and this is the way it will always be. And so there's no thanks to God whatsoever. There's no mind toward God. He becomes then the animal man. The animal man is man without God. With God, we're no longer the animal man, but we are the spiritual man. And there's a great difference. The Bible warned us in Genesis. The Bible warned us in the book of Daniel, in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel's dealing with World War III and the nations involved. Daniel warned us of a coming Antichrist, that he would seize power, or that power would rather be given to him, which shows the insanity of the world at that period of time, which I believe is this period of time. For you have never seen such insanity in your whole life as you're seeing now. Daniel warned us that there would be a one-world government under Antichrist, that there would be a one-world economy, and that there would be a one-world religion. You think it's by chance that all of those things are commonly spoken of through media, through political powers? You think it's a coincidence that those things are now openly spoken of? And they were prophesied all the way back in the book of Daniel, telling us that knowledge, Daniel told us that knowledge would increase in the last days. And this explosion of knowledge would be a key to destruction, because knowledge would increase and wisdom would decrease. One of the most deadly things in this world is an abundance of knowledge and an absence of wisdom. It never works, and it never will work, because we must be a law unto ourselves. And the more we get to play with, the more we will play. The more we get in our hands as power that's able to corrupt, we will corrupt. The more that we get into our hands that's able to destroy physically, bombs, nuclear bombs, technologies that we don't even know about today, in the hands of a man without the wisdom of God, sooner or later, he's going to use it on himself. Always has, and he always will. As I've told you in so many programs, there is nothing complicated about any of this. We are the most predictable beings, life on this planet. And we have in the Bible and through history books an entire record of the revolving door that mankind stays in as he comes to God, as he departs from God, and then as he comes back to God, and then sooner or later departs from God. Long as he's with God, things are good. Peace abounds. When he starts leaving God and when he leaves God, then it's chaos. This is the most de-Christianized that America has ever been since the founding days. Do you wonder why there is so much chaos? Do you wonder why there is so much confusion, so much destruction, so much vile insanity? It is because we have not only strayed from God, in large part this country has left God at least by the works of those that are in power. It is a godless world. It is a godless America. Not that the Americans don't have a percentage of Christians in it that is enough to warrant God's protection. But it is that we have put the wicked over us, and they care nothing for God. They want to destroy all of His principles. They want to eliminate His Word. And without being too far out, I promise you, they want to bring violence and harm upon us. And if they get the power back, full power, they are going to do it. Make no mistake about it. As the Bible warns us through all of the books, and up to the book of Revelation, warning us that all the signs and troubles and trials, the wars, the plagues, the pestilence that Jesus told us was coming, God told us in the book of Revelation that it would be man. It would be the doings of man. The pestilence, the plagues, the war, the rumors of wars, the nations against nations would be the works of man. God said, I will destroy them that destroy the earth. And now we find out here just how easy this really is. Fire nuclear bombs and go to world war? Don't need to. Just some insane rogue nation just ship a virus out. One virus, a single virus that you can't even see. Bring us into such utter chaos, which a whole lot of it is the working of man, spiritual warfare, communications. A lot of it is lies, hysteria. Trust me, if a Democrat was put into office tomorrow, within 2 weeks, you would hear no more about this. Just now in Florida, as I'm doing the program the day before, I'm doing this Wednesday, so it would have been last Tuesday. They discovered that in Florida, while they were testing and when they were testing for this COVID virus, that 100% of the people tested come back positive. Well, now, you know that that's an impossibility. I know that that's an impossibility. And of course, once it was investigated, it was found to be nonsense. One reason for this type of business is to keep mankind in a state of utter confusion and chaos. The other reason is they want to keep everything shut down till the election so that they can then blame Donald Trump for the largest loss of jobs in history. They're already starting to do it. 100%. Another reason is they're getting $18,000 to $30,000 per positive diagnosis. This is a bunch of foolishness. Yes, it will hurt you. Yes, it's a flu. But the death rate is less than the flu rate of death was. Nonetheless, the Bible warns us of when the end times would be upon us. And just the few passages that I've made mention of today, if that's not enough to tell you and to show you and to open your eyes, then you cannot possibly be a spiritual man or a spiritual woman. You would have to be the animal man if you cannot see what is so abundantly clear for us to see right now, which is indeed the manifestation, which means the making plain. The manifestation God promised that He would manifest before He brought destruction. It is our chance to do something about it, to stop it, to repent as old Nineveh did years ago, spared their country from immediate destruction, and they lived for another 140, 150 years. We can do the same, but we're going to have to see what's happening. We're going to have to see the manifestation that God is presenting before us here and now. And we should be able to see it, and we do see it if we are spiritual men and women. Now, I want to read to you because in spite of all these things that happen and all these things prophesied, the Bible told us of a particular group of individuals. They would be wicked, but that they would be deceivers, corrupters, and they would gain access to our ears, our emotions, and our souls. And the unlearned, the ignorant, and the simple would believe them. And trust me, there are more unlearned, ignorant, and simple in this world than there are spiritual men and women. The Bible tells us in the book of 2 Peter, 2 Peter chapter 2, beginning with verse 17. The Bible tells us here, these, speaking of these people I just made mention of, these are wells without water. Clouds they are carried with the tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. A group of people that God has reserved rooms of darkness for forever, that are here now, roving about us. These clouds with no rain, as Jude put it. As Peter put it, wells with no water. They got the appearance, but they've nothing inside of them. They're empty shells, but they're able to paint the outer cup to look very lively. They're able to speak and sound very real. That's why the discerning of spirits, one of the 9 spiritual gifts, is a survival gift. The Bible said that He would not upbraideth anyone who asked for it, chastise anyone who asked for it. Ask, and it shall be given unto thee. If you don't have it, ask God for it. It tells us then in verse 17, or verse 18, for when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lust of the flesh, through much wantonness, those who were clean escape from them who live in error. While they promise liberty, they themselves are the servants of corruption, of whom a man is overcome, the same is brought in bondage again. It tells us here that they speak great words of vanity, which means morally corrupt. The word vanity here. It means moral corruption. They speak great swelling words, these wells that has nothing inside. They speak great swelling words of vanity, of moral corruption. How we cannot see that the Bible is pinpointing the very mindset of the generation that will bring the greatest tribulation on the world that it's ever known. And how we can so clearly and easily not see in outer circles this mindset, but see it now as the dominant force of power. Great swelling words of vanity. What do? They lure, they allure. That's bait on your fishing pole. It's what you do to a fish. You dangle something before him that looks good to him and he bites it and he's dead. These great swelling words of vanity, moral corruption is based upon what? What is the reason? How do they operate? How do these liars and deceivers function? Through much wantonness, the Bible tells us, and the lust of the flesh. They feed off of what they know the animal man wants. In most cases, it's coveted power, wealth, and riches of which they don't deserve because they didn't earn it. And they don't earn it. Wantonness. This word means a lewd, lascivious person, pampered, a spoiled child. My Lord, does this not describe for us exactly who we see today in the streets? College students who winds up 25, 35 years old still living in their mama's basement. And the word that is described here that those deceivers goes after are those who have the lust of the flesh and much wantonness, lewd. Every bit of it pertains to sexual perversion. This is the porn generation that you see out in the street, exactly as the Bible describes it. This is the porn generation that you see in the street. What? Spoiled brats who's never left the socialism and communism that they are raised under as children from their mamas and daddies, who provides for them houses, provides for them cool, provides for them heat, provides for them shelter, provides for them water, provides food, provides everything. Every kid is a socialist. That's why you got to teach him and train him that he is to fend and take care of himself. Let him go through some troubles. Let him learn how to take criticism instead of tearing up baseball games and basketball games because somebody said something wrong to you, little angel. It's the way we're prepared for life. We've got to go through some things. We got to deal with them ourselves. At 10, 12 years old, we got to start dealing with life issues ourselves. And mom and daddy, you're there to help them along, but not keep them out of every bad situation. It's like germs and virus. You put your children inside of a shell and keep them there, you kill them. They got to get out among the germs. They got to get out among the viruses. They got to play in the yard. That's what builds their immunity. So is it with us living life. Being criticized by somebody helps us build an immunity to it. Being fired by somebody helps us build an immunity to it and teaches us to move on to something else. These are spoiled, rotten brats, just as the word says. Lewd, lascivious person, a pampered, the word means wantonness, a pampered, spoiled child, lewd, which is a sexual perversion. Lasciviousness, also a sexual perversion. These people's brains are warped with social media. And they're wicked. So they call good evil and they call evil good. But these deceivers, this out there, this in government, like this Mr. de Blasio, defunding the police in New York City. But at the same time, he's liberating the blacks of New York.
Let me tell you, we are not denigrating anything. We are liberating Fifth Avenue. No more American statement. There's no more patriotic statement because there is no America without Black America.
This well without water is in front of Trump Tower there making that speech and telling the blacks how he's liberating them as he stands with those and helps them paint Black Lives Matters all the way down the road in front of Trump Tower. And then he tells us in the speech, he's liberating. But under his policies, since he has defunded the police, since he has told the police you can't arrest nobody, you can't frisk nobody, you can't touch nobody. Just in these past few weeks, the crime rate, murder rate, has gone up 165 times. You know who's getting killed? The ones he's liberating. He speaks of liberating the blacks, but yet it's his city that more blacks are killed in than almost any place else. Him, the liberator. It is Chicago that more blacks are killed every week than is killed in Afghanistan. It is Baltimore. Every one of these places, bar none, are run by Democrat liberal mayors, black chief of police, black mayors. It's impossible for it to be systemic where they rule. These are wells without water, and these are liars lying between their filthy, rotten teeth. He's liberating blacks, while what he's doing has put more blacks in the graveyard over the last month. And that's liberation. He that hath eyes to see, let him see. It's just the cold, hard truth. And it's what all of them are doing. They're liberating the blacks and killing more of them. It's what they've always done. And what they're going to do until there's an awakening in this country, and it better be fast. So de Blasio and these other liberating mayors, painting Black Lives Matters, don't think for a second that they don't know that Black Lives Matters, the organization, has nothing to do with black lives whatsoever. They are communist. I played this for you the other night, and there were some people who called in, didn't hear the end of it. So I want to play it for you again. Black Lives Matters is a con job. Blacks all across this country are seeing it, speaking out against it. You just don't get to hear them. In the Black Life City, where they roped off city blocks and made it their Chad City, nobody told you that it got shut down from threats from Donald Trump to send in federal agencies because 2 black teenagers was killed by Black Lives Matters inside their little city. But no news about those 2. You know their names? You know the names of those 2 black teenagers? One with a football scholarship. This 1-year-old baby that got shot in its car. Do you know the baby's name? No. CNN, ABC, none of them cares a thing about how many black people dies. It's only the one that can benefit them politically. Black Lives Matters, this organization, they are communist. This is the founder, one of the founders, telling you we are trained Marxists. What part of this can you not understand?
I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are trained Marxists. We are trained Marxists.
What more needs to be said? We are trained Marxists. This is a communist organization. That's why blacks all across America are already seeing through it. But nobody in the media will mention what this lady said. You ain't heard it one time. Not even from the president. These are communists using the word black for soul-stealing purposes so they can do what they want to do, and anytime you attack them to stop them, they can say you're attacking black people. When 70% of what makes this bunch up is white girls. It's communist, porn generation, spoiled, rotten brats, as the Bible so wonderfully put it. through the wantonness of the lust of the flesh. And then finally, the serpent. This Mr. de Blasio, the liberator, pleaded to Mr. Trump for help. And Mr. Trump sent him every single thing he asked for. Listen to the serpent.
So, President Trump, here's my appeal to you. Help us back on our feet.
The serpent asking for help. Help us back on our feet. And then Mr. Trump does. And then what does the serpent do? What the serpent always does when you reach out to pet him. He bites. He stands in front of Mr. Trump's building with a bunch of communists, defaming and ridiculing the man who he asked to help us get on our feet.
So, President Trump, here's my appeal to you. Help us back on our feet.
And then when Mr. Trump did, the filthy, no good serpent bit him.
Say there's work for you to do. So I took my master's hand and joined the Christian band. Now I'm on the battlefield